Chairman of the Tata Trusts, Noel Tata, has thrown a googly, except that there is no batsman to receive it, but there's enough consternation that why, in an empty field, the chairman of the Tata Trust, who was taken over from Ratan Tata just more than a year ago, should be doing it. And that is what we shall be discussing in this edition of On Point. You notice that I have adopted a different format this time, and I would like to know how you, my audience, feel about this particular format. As you know, as a maverick observer of the Indian economy, I like to take these discussions with you, and it works best when you are able to know that I have put up a new show. So, the best way to do it, to get to know, is to press the bell icon. And now, onwards with our story. The death of Ratan Tata in December 2024, the Tata Group has been in the middle of a peculiar boardroom convulsion. And compared to the stern gaze that everybody else puts on other industrial groups, the Tata Group, however, doesn't seem to be, suffering much from the convulsions. The stock prices haven't really been affected so far. The image of the group as a paragon of as a very good corporate citizen hasn't been affected. But my sense is that despite the kid glove treatment it has got so far, that could be ending. And the reason for that, as I said, is the googly that Noel Tata has delivered. So in a meeting day before yesterday at the Tata House to decide whether the CEO of the Tata Sons, which is Mr. N. Chandrasekaran, whether his term should be extended beyond 2027, which it was thought was a very routine decision. You know, the Tata Group accounts for about 8% of the Indian GDP. So it's given, it is expected that changes at its top level, at its top leadership level, will be gradual, will be something that will be barely perceptible, and will only happen when there is something remarkably difficult to tide over. The first thing is, Ratan Tata himself broke that covenant in 2016 when he actually created a spat with the then CEO, Mr. Cyrus Mistry. And 10 years later, another Tata, his half-brother, Noel Tata, is now creating another governance challenge. This Chandra's continuation will depend on some stiff conditions. And what are these conditions? That, first of all, the Tata Group's debt will be restrained. The losses, especially at Air India, which has obviously been very high, and thanks to that unfortunate accident, and reaching a very swift settlement with the Tata Sons' largest shareholder, which is the Shah minority shareholder, which is the Shapoorji Pallonji Group, and overall ensuring that Tata Sons does not get listed, even though there is a regulatory requirement that it should get listed. Now, all of these are issues that obviously will be the decisions of the boardroom, but it should not be something that should be held as conditions for the reappointment of Mr. Chandrasekaran. The market still feels, experts still feel that this will be sorted out and Tata Group will be back on its feet. I am one of those guys who differ. I think the googly has already been bowled. Whether Mr. Chandrasekaran is able to defend it or not is not the point. The verdict is out. The Tata Group has landed itself in a leadership mess. And this is a serious problem for the Indian economy because Tata Group just last week become the shortlisted one to build India's medium combat aircraft with other some competitors. And Tata Advanced Systems is probably the company which is going to get that contract. Not only that, remember Tata is building the semiconductor complex in India, which is among all the semiconductor projects, that is the one project which seems the most near the finish line. Not only that, Tata is holding several of major IT developments in India. There's lots riding on the Tata. And true to form, and I should say that at this stage, it was Mr. Chandrasekaran who actually is responsible for many of these wins. Up till 2016, despite Mr. Ratan Tata's sterling role as a great corporate citizen, the Tata Group hasn't really moved up much in the market cap. If you look at its market cap from 2000 onwards till about 2012-14, it really wasn't really doing very well other than TCS. And TCS, remember, was under Mr. Chandrasekaran. And when Mr. Chandrasekaran moved to his role as a chairman of the Tata's Group in Bombay House, the group has really done remarkably well. That 10-year period has been the most glorious period for the Tata enterprise. It has also been the bedrock on which India is planning to move itself up several notches as manufacturing powerhouse. Along with the Adani Group, the Ambani Group, the Tata Group is India's marquee industrial group. We don't want trouble there. We can't afford trouble there. When disturbances started happening a few months ago in the Tata Group, Mr. Chandrasekaran, Mr. Noel Tata, and a couple of others landed up for a surprise meeting late night with the Indian government, with the finance minister, with the prime minister. These were difficult times. It was thought that those problems have been sorted out. As it turns out, it seems those problems have not been sorted out. And as I said, the markets have often felt that whatever happens with other industrial groups, and lots of people are not very enamored about the way family dynasties move across in other industrial groups, the Tata Group was thought to be a brilliant exception. That exceptionalism is under major threat. And frankly speaking, fingers have to be pointed at Mr. Noel Tata. Under Section 121A of the Articles of Association of the Tata Sons, introduced in the year 2014, all decisions involving a sum of more than rupees 100 crore, that means whenever the Tata Group has to spend more than 100 crore in any investment, that has to be cleared by the Tata Trust. Now, the Tata Trust holds a 66% shareholding in the Tata Group, in the Tata Sons. So, what has happened is, last year, now Noel Tata was in charge of Tata International, and he had asked for a 1,000 crore capital support from Tata Sons. The decision had to be cleared by the Tata Trust, right? But Mr. Noel Tata, who sits as the chairman of Tata International, a trading company, and it's a surprise, why does a trading company run into a loss? How can a trading company run into a loss? A manufacturing company can run into a loss. A trading company? Anyway, so he asked for his company asked for a bailout. The bailout, obviously, as the holding company, Tata Sons, could not clear on its own because the Tata Trusts, which sits behind the Tata Sons, had to clear that investment. And who heads the Tata Trust? Who's the chairman of Tata Trust? Mr. Noel Tata himself. Now, if this isn't a very huge corporate governance problem, I don't know what is a corporate governance problem. For instance, I can't think of any way in the US market, in the UK market, this sort of a decision making would be seriously frowned upon. In fact, the only place where this corporate governance model could go through the straight line connectivity between the Tata Trusts and the Tata International through the via media of the Tata Sons would be in the Japanese governance system. for instance, in the UK Corporate Governance Code of 2023 requires firms to comply with deviations, justified deviations. This comply or explain model differs from that of rules-based approach in other countries, but it says clearly that this is not kosher. And remember, the different Tata Trusts are public charitable entities, because they are governed not only by the Indian Trusts Act of 1882 but also by state laws. They are eligible for tax exemptions under Section 12A and 80G of the Income Tax Act. The Birla Education Trust, that doesn't have this sort of a overarching position, because private trusts are meant to be doing only something very specific. In fact, there are multiple private trusts subscribing to the shares of just single companies. A database on trusts developed by the Prime Database Groups records 2,126 such private trusts among companies listed on the National Stock Exchange. The Tata Trust is supposed to be a different model, because it looks at several companies. It is supposed to have a standoff model of corporate governance. That is, that the Tata Trust invests in the companies, but Tata Trust does not get involved in the running of the companies. Now, what has happened last week at the meeting of the Tata Sons is breaking that hands-off rule. What is also demanding is Tata Sons will not be listed. But remember, the government has said, the RBI has made it clear. In fact, the decision on when the Tata Sons was to be listed, there was a deadline of September 2025 for Tata Sons to list its shares. The government has been nice, has been soft, has not given any update so far. But is that what we want our India's probably most admired industrial group to be doing so? To be depending on a direct government munificence to be able to run its affairs? And remember, why am I saying that the movement, that Mr. Chandrasekharan's term, even if he gets the next one, is compromised? Because the semiconductor business globally is something on which lots of money needs to be spent, but there's no certainty when and how success will come. The aircraft, the medium combat aircraft that India is trying to build, has seen more failures. In fact, it has only seen failures so far. So that's also something where lots of money will be spent. The Tatas are also involved in India's several major other projects, marquee projects like the ports. Those also are difficult ones to handle. In all of these, Mr. Chandrasekharan will need the full backing of the Tata Sons, the massive backing of Tata Trust, that if there is a problem, if there is a loss, that loss will not be held to his account, but will be accepted by the group as something that is necessary and essential to keep the leadership in those sectors going. The googly that Mr. Noel Tata has bowled to no one in particular is actually going to shatter a very, very major industrial group's record. And I don't think we are ready for that yet in India. And that's all in this edition of 1 Point.